Life comes at you fast in the NBA. One day you could have a job, the next you are a free agent. And while that's exactly the situation veteran big man Paul Reed finds himself in after apparently being waived by the Detroit Pistons today. Paul Reed's 2024-25 salary was due to become fully guaranteed if he'd remained on the roster by January 10th, if I'm not mistaken. So Detroit is probably lining some things up to make some additional moves. All of that said, the Cavs do need a big man, and Reed could be useful. In 12 appearances for the Pistons this season, Reed was averaging 4.8 points and 1.9 rebounds while completing roughly 53.8% of his field goals, including 36.4% of his triples, albeit on low volume. And I get it, Reed hasn't been as productive as he once was, but he's just one season removed from the solid play he was known for as Joel Embiid's backup over in Philly, where he even managed to start 24 games. In fact, he was durable as hell, seeing action in all 82 contests, putting up 7.3 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 block in just 19.4 minutes per game that season. It's not crazy to think that in a low-minute role off the bench that he could return to form. He's got experience, decent size, and wouldn't likely cost the Cavs much to pick up at this point. Offensively speaking, Reed wouldn't likely be asked to be much more than a rim-rolling big who runs the floor. He hasn't gotten enough run to qualify for it this season, but last year he scored 1.21 points per possession as a pick and roll man and converted over 58.3% of his field goals in that regard. That would have ranked third on the Cavs last season behind Jared Allen and, believe it or not, Sam Merrill. He's also scored 1.14 points per possession as a cutter, and his 1.8 points per game off of cuts was 45th in the NBA. And in this pace and spaced out offense, I would think that he could feast off of cuts and as a rollman.
Don't let his numbers fool you. This guy can score. He can pass to Beverly to Paul Reed.
Great bounce pass. All that was left for Paul to catch.
Reed is not much of a three-point marksman, but he does show the willingness to pull the trigger at times. He's attempted 11 total triples this season and 88 over the course of his 5-year career. He did manage to shoot a career best 36.8% in his final year in Philly on roughly 0.7 attempts per game. Kenny Atkinson might be able to make use of that latent ability. He's also a pretty solid rebounder, especially on the offensive glass, where he's finished within the 91st percentile or higher in regards to offensive rebounding percentage over the past few seasons. His 2.4 offensive rebounds per game last year was 33rd in the league and would have ranked second to only Jared Allen last year. His contested rebounding percentage of 51.5% ranked 4th among players with at least 50 games played in 2023-24. Overall, offensively, he wouldn't likely be asked to do much more than simply operate as a roll man, rebound and grab the occasional putback, and cut when needed. No more, no less, in a limited role. And let's not forget, we got to see how impactful he could be up close and personal as he averaged 9.3 points, 7.5 boards, and 2 blocks, while completing 55.6% of his shots in 4 appearances against Cleveland last year. Defensively, Paul Reed is not Evan Mobley or Jared Allen, but he can hold his own. He has logged 89% of his minutes this season at center and held his opponents to 54.9%. Not anything to brag about, but the Cavs' defensive identity and ability to hide specific things would surely be able to make up for any number of his weaknesses. So much of defense is effort after all, and I think that if you could get him to buy in, it could work out. Now the question is what the Cavs will be willing to do to open up a roster spot for him. They would need to waive or trade someone to open up a spot for him. And I'm not even going to sit up here and act like I'm an expert in salary cap tables, and I know the Cavs may not be able to afford him, but man, this would be a fine addition as we know this team sorely needs a third big. I remain very interested to see where Paul Reed ends up. Hopefully, it's Cleveland.